Kristen.
I'm sorry, who motion?
I made, Commissioner Aaron's made the motion to come out. Commissioner Poppins second the motion to come out of recess. Call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, we are now back into the Board of Equalization. Item number 1 this afternoon is the Zoots Revocable Trust. Do we have a representative from them on the line?
This is Jerry Zoots.
Okay, Jerry, we'll be with you in a minute, right after our Director of Equalization has made her points in her case. Okay?
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Our first parcel is parcel number 280.58.02.003. It's located at 5016 South Broadband Lane in Sioux Falls. It's owned by Gerald K. Zoots Revocable Trust. It is a commercial bare piece of ground. It consists of 1.36 acres, which is approximately 59,371 square feet. Currently, we have it assessed at $720,517, which accounts for $12.14 a square foot. You can see below in the table shows our pricing breakdown on how we have all of these lots in this particular Solberg Business Park valued at. It was heard at local board, and local board made no change. The assessors are recommending no change. All of these parcels in this development are valued equally on this land table provided. This was based off the 24 land review of the recent sale of bare lots and using the residual method of improved lots. Here are a few of the sales that we considered in our analysis. And when we do the residual, we take the sale price minus the building and come up with the remaining portion for the land. Just to explain briefly on what a residual is. Price per square foot, the average price per square foot of the subject property is $12.14. With the tiered pricing, you can see where first acre is being valued at 14, and then anything over that, it goes to the second tier of $7 per square foot. That's why we have an average per square foot of 12.14. Our comparable sales approach shows a valuation between $4.70 per square foot up to $14 per square foot. The market is indicating a market range between $5.90 square foot and $14 per square foot. And you can see this is how we develop our tiered pricing, because the larger the parcel is, the less per square foot it becomes. These properties are currently listed for sale between $15 and $18 per square foot. This was a listing that we had done prior to local board, so if any changes have taken place since March of this year, this was the information as of March. The subject property is located in pink, and the comparables that we showed you are in blue. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Any more questions for Carla? Thank you, Carla. Jerry, it's your turn to address, if you would give your complete name and address, and then it's your turn to address the commission with your appeal.
Yes, my name is Gerald Zoots. I live at 709 Lakeview Road, Sioux Falls, South Dakota 57110. I've had this property listed for sale for over a year and a half at $10.25 a square foot, or $608,000, and to date I have not received any purchase offers. If I did receive a purchase offer, I don't think I'm likely to get a full price offer. More likely it would be less than full price, and that's why I was requesting that you consider a value of $550,000. There are some other lots for sale nearby, and the information I sent in, there's a couple listings of similar size lots in the development at $9.75 a square foot. They're listed on Sioux Falls commercial webpage. One is about a block to the east, and one is about 2 blocks to the southeast. And I think those are more comparable for current listings. Yes, as you get closer to the Louise Avenue interchange on I-229, prices do go up, but we're not along 57th. We're a couple doors off 57th, and we're not at the Louise Avenue interchange also. So I think the listings for sale support a lower value, and I'd ask for your consideration on that.
Okay. Gerald, is there any other data that you wish to share?
That's the data that carries the most weight, I believe.
Okay. Well, Commissioners, you've heard from Gerald's situation. How long have you had this for sale?
Since July 20, 2023, so a little over a year and a half.
Looks like 2022. I think that's what you meant.
Yes, you are correct. I'm sorry.
Did we verify if it's on an MLS?
Yeah, the appellant did share a Bender brochure flyer. It's listed for sale at $10.25.
Do you have an asking price that you were asking? You might.
What he wants.
Yeah, what he is asking for it?
It's on the 1017. Or what's that?
Sorry,
Oh.
let me go back.
550.
550? Is that his actual selling asking price?
Right,
Okay.
it's about
Yep.
90%
Okay.
of his asking price.
All right. Okay, Commissioners?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it seemed all very honest information provided by the appellant. We're showing you the sales around there, some other listings that are around there. According to those, they support a higher market value. However, it is listed for sale at $10.25. So,
And it's not sold.
not sure what I don't understand about this, the difference between these properties, but there's something.
There's something. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would move to accept his value of 550 on it.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Poppins to accept your value of $550,000. We have a second by Commissioner Aaron's. Further discussions or questions? Hearing none. Kristen, please call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes. Motion carries. Jerry, your property is now assessed at $550,000.
Good luck getting it.
Well, I sure. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're now on agenda item number 2, which is the South Dakota FCA.
Are they calling in?
Are they calling?
Isn't that usually Paul Gorley and those folks?
Yep,
Yeah. Yep.
have not made. Yes, Jake?
Yeah, we don't have an RSVP from, sorry, Jake, I just accidentally looked at you. I thought he was a call-in, he was a call-in on Monday.
We do have his number on the PT-17. I don't know. Are we? I don't know that that's our procedure to call people.
If they
regardless
haven't
if they don't
indicated to call
RSVP.
'em.
Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't
the Fellowship of
RSVP.
Christian, they've appealed that every year.
Well, we hear them for exemption.
Yeah.
We heard it from him on Monday regarding their exemption,
Yeah. Well, they're not here.
right?
Present it.
Yep.
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 What do you have, Carla? Anything to?
Yep.
Tell us. Let's get,
Okay,
yeah.
absolutely. Our next appeal is parcel number 280.07.01.002C. It's located at 1601 East 69th Street, Suite 301 in Sioux Falls. It's owned by the South Dakota Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It is a office building built in 2008. It is of good plus condition, quality of construction. It consists of 29,691 square feet. It does have a second and a third story. There's no basement. The lot size is 89,870 square feet. Our current assessed value went out at 4,927,497. This appeal was heard at local board. Local board made no change. The recommendation from the assessors is no change. It's equally assessed with like properties and below current market sales. The assessor did review all the information supplied by the appellant. We did receive some income information. It looked as if there were partial rents, and I'm not, and I think that's because they are located in that same, in the suite, so the rents came from the other tenants and not what they occupied themselves. That's what it appeared in their income approach. The FCA occupies a little over 50% of the space. Some comparable sales that we felt were relevant to this appeal are listed in front of you. Their current sales. This is their income approach that was supplied. When we capped it out, it was coming in at a valuation of $2.5 million. It's well under the market of what like structures are selling for. Again, what we could determine was it was just partial rents that were being submitted. Looking at all three approaches to value, the subject property is currently being assessed at $138 per square foot. The cost is coming in at $127 to $175 per square foot. The market is coming in at $157 to $174 per square foot. And the income approach is providing a valuation of $56 per square foot. Our median sale prices for commercial offices is coming in about 92% of market value. Subject property is located in the southeast corner of the map, and then the comparables are indicated in Sioux Falls, Lincoln County. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Carla. Will we have a representative from the Fellowship of Christian Athletes this morning on that building?
Does not look like it.
We don't have a phone in or anything, so. Have we had any correspondence with them, Carla?
No.
No.
They were
I mean,
here on
other
Monday
than
They
the,
were here Monday.
for their exemption application.
Yeah.
The partial exemption. Other than that.
Other than that, nothing. Okay. Commissioners, we did take some action on item number 2 on this Fellowship of Christian Athletes building. What's your recommendation?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to adopt the assessors or Department of Equalization's recommendation values.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Poppins to accept our Equalization Department's recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Aaron's. Christine, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries. Next item, if, I don't know if we're a little bit ahead of schedule here, but is item number 3 on our agenda, Susan Sabers. Will she be calling in?
She's good to go.
She's on. Ms. Sabers, you're on the phone? Can you hear us? Are you on the phone?
I am. This is Susan.
Good. Susan, thank you. We will be with you in a minute. We're going to listen to what our Director of Equalization says about your request. Then you will have a chance to address the commission.
Thanks so much.
Our
Carla?
next appeal is parcel number 280.15.18.001. It's located at 424 West Devitt Drive in Sioux Falls. It's owned by Susan Sabers. It is a single-family property built in 2004. It is a one-story home consisting of 2,557 square feet. We have 5 bedrooms, a full basement with 1,740 square feet of living area. It does have an attached garage of 838 square feet. The assessment value went out at $807,996. It was appealed to local board. Local board made no change to the assessor's valuation. It was appealed back for county consideration by the appellant. We do show 4 comps that we felt were very comparable to the subject property. Comp number 4 in particular also has commercial influence, as does the subject property. It's the same proximity to 69th Street, and it abuts up to some ponding issues as well. So comp 4 is very much considered very comparable to the subject property.
It's right across the golf course on the same hole from the subject.
When we look at the 3 approaches to value, our subject property is coming in at $315 per square foot. The cost is showing a range between $306 and $351 per square foot. The market is indicating a market value of $311 to $362 per square foot. So well within the cost and the market approaches. We're recommending no change. Property is below cost and between market values of similar properties. And again, comparable number 4 is very similar with the commercial influence and water, as stated in previous, on the subject properties PT 17. You can see where the subject property is located on the map. It's highlighted in yellow in the central portion of the map, and the comparables are in blue. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Any further questions for our director? Hearing none. Susan, would you state your full name and address, and then it's your turn to address the commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Sabers, 324 West Devitt Drive. I think your director said 424. It's not. It's 324. I don't actually think there is a 424, so I don't think it's a big deal. But I am 324 West Devitt Drive, not 424 as stated.
Okay.
I asked for comparables a few weeks ago when I filed my appeal. I was given 3, so I apologize, but I have not seen comparable number 4, although there isn't a residence. I was told there was a residence across the street from me. There actually isn't. I have nothing but commercial across the street from me, so I'm not sure what comparable number 4 is. Similar to what I stated last year, I have on one side, I'm either looking at a urology clinic or the Sioux Valley Clinic. I have a huge parking lot. I'm not just on Minnesota. I'm not just on 69th. I'm on both. The view out, 90% of my home's windows is of the intersection of 69th and Minnesota. I have effectively a swamp next to me, the BMP pond that services the Sanford Clinic. So I'm mainly looking at either swampy cattails or asphalt parking lots or the beautiful view of 69th in Minnesota. As I said last year, I love my house. I wish it were somewhere else. It is not. The first 3 comparables that actually were given to me when I asked, one was on 77th Street West, one was on Wicklow Court West, and one was on Shadow Ridge South. None of them were anywhere near a commercial property. None of them had swamps in their backyard or in their side yard. None of them had a BMP pond servicing the neighbor commercial. And I don't just have some commercial. I have almost nothing but commercial. I have a residential neighbor to one side, and all the other views are of the commercial neighbors. And, you know, and in fairness, I knew that when I bought it. I mean, I built this house. I fully understood that when I was putting it up on the lot that I was going to have those commercial neighbors. But to say that somehow my house is comparable to one of the houses was over in Grand Prairie. I mean, it's a gated community, although the gate's typically up. But it's a gated community nowhere near the intersection of 69th and Minnesota. So, again, I'm at a bit of a disadvantage because I haven't seen comparable for, because when I asked for the comparables, it wasn't provided. But I don't care where it is. I don't care what it is. It's not comparable to my home. Last year I was asked at this time if I had comparables that I was offering, and I said no, and really that's the point of my appeal, folks. I just, I have a swamp in my side yard, a swamp in my backyard, at least most of the year. I have commercial properties. I have terribly busy intersection, go 69th in Minnesota. I have a huge asphalt parking lot. There just isn't another house, frankly, anywhere that is like that. And then I talked a little bit about the specifics of my home. I don't actually have a 3-stall garage because to enter my house, there's actually a large staircase in my garage, and we can't even fit in a little tiny baby Cooper car. So it's a 2-stall garage effectively. And then I'm smaller. Well, I have fewer baths. All of these other comparables had either 4 or 5 baths. I have 3. Just even the comparables of the inner part of the home, I thought were not comparable. Again, I haven't been in the homes, but I was relying on the statistics provided by your director's office. So I said most of that in writing. I apologize for repeating, and frankly, I apologize for repeating from last year. I just think that looking at pictures of outsides of pretty houses does not take into consideration the peculiarities of my home and its location, and I would ask you to consider that. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay. Commissioner Aaron's?
Leave the land at 113,951. There's probably, I'm going to account for a little bit of increase in value on the structure, just given the strength of the market. I've adjusted that to 655,000 for a total of 768,951. And then what that does, Mr. Chairman, is that essentially equalizes that property to be very consistent with the assessed value of comp. It's in the neighborhood of comps number 3 and 4.
We have a motion by Commissioner Aaron's to keep the property at its present level of 113,951 and reducing the house property from 694,045 to 655,000 for a grand total 758,951. Do we have a second?
It's close enough. I'll give you a second on that.
We have a second by Commissioner Poppins. Christine, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries. Susan, you heard the results.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Again, thank you for your willingness to listen and to allow me to appear by phone. Last year it was a baseball game. This year it's arraignment court. So thanks so much, folks. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Not sure which one.
Yes, bye-bye.
Item, agenda number 4, which deals with Sun Enterprises. And do we have somebody coming from, we do,
By phone.
my phone. Gabe Noller.
He's coming there.
We're good to go.
We are?
Yep.
Mr. Noller, are you on the phone?
I am on the phone.
We'll be calling on you in just a moment, as soon as our Director of Equalization discusses your appeal.
All right.
Carla?
Thank you. Our next appeal is parcel number 280.19.00.001C. It's located at 1231 East 57th Street in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's under the ownership name of Sun Enterprises. It's a grocery store, a pharmacy, a UPS store, Caribou Coffee, and a grill, but your neighborhood grocery store. Built in 2006, it's of above average quality. The square footage is 44,956. There's also a C-store that's detached from the grocery store that was built in 2006 as well. It has a total square footage of 2,238 square feet. The lot size is 209,165 square feet. We sent out a total assessed value of $5,906,497. This is an appeal that is being directly heard at county board. The owner is out of state resident, so they are able to skip past the local board of equalization. The assessors are recommending no change. This property was challenged to OHE in 2022 with a full narrative appraisal that was prepared, which upheld the assessor's valuation back in 2022. Felt that narrative appraisal is very credible. We haven't seen any decreases in any property values. It's only increased. This is a slight increase over 2023, a 2.75% increase. For assessment equity, we also are showing some other grocery stores in the Lincoln County area on page 2. Page 3 shows some sales of neighborhood grocery stores, but we also have another building that we felt was credible for a market approach. It's a large building, as is the subject property. When we look at the three approaches to value, we break it down in a few different ways. We look at the structure only, and then we do a subject per square foot. We do take out the convenience store because not all of the comparables have a convenience store. So you can look at it by structure or by including the land. So currently, the subject property structure is being valued at $91 per square foot. Our comparables show a cost range between $85 and $105 per square foot. The market is indicating a market range between $191 and $234 a square foot. The subject property is located on the northeast corner of the map. The comparables are in blue. Those were our assessment equity comparables. The next map indicates where our sales comparables are located. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
No further questions for Carla. Mr. Noller, it's your turn to state your name and address and address the commission with your complaint.
All right, Gabe Noller, 14360 West 96th Terrace, Lenexa, Kansas. Honestly, I mean, the value on this property did not change that much. And sometimes, well, a lot of times, our appeal recommendations sometimes fall on deaf ears, and Hy-Vee has chosen this property to appeal again for 24. And I think we brought or emailed you guys some evidence that we would like you guys to consider. But honestly, if we're going to get anywhere, we're going to have one or two at least appraisals done on this in the future, in my opinion. If we want to gain anything on this appeal. So I don't have a whole lot to offer at this time. Short of saying that I would accept a no change at this time, that's all that I have.
Mr. Chairman, with that said, I'm going to make a motion that we accept or adopt the assessor's recommendation.
I'll second.
And then what I also want to say, Mr. Chairman, is without prejudging any future appeal, we we do appreciate seeing appraisals. They're very helpful to our decision-making process.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Aaron's to accept the Board of Equalization's established recommendation. We have a second by Commissioner Poppins. Kristen, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries. We hope to, if you have another one, follow the advice of Commissioner Aaron's on submitting valuable data. Thank you, sir, for coming and for your involvement.
All right, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Bet. We now
All right, bye.
move to agenda item number 5, which is Tantera Partners. We got a representative. We'll be calling on you in just a minute, sir. Soon as Carla gets done with her presentation, you'll be up. Take care. All right.
Our next appeal is parcel number 280.23.13.006A. It's located at 609 East Tantera Circle in Sioux Falls. It's owned by Tantera Partners. It is an office building built in 2007. It is of good quality plus construction. It has total square footage of 6,681 square feet. It's only a one-story. It does have lower level with full lower level finish. With lower level finish of 1,957 square feet, so it's not full lower level finish. The lot size is 21,123. Our assessment went out at $1,184,201. This was appealed to the local board. Local board made no change. We're recommending no change because the subject is in line with the comparable assessments and sales. On page 2, you can see where we have some office buildings that have sold. One sold, or the two sold within the 23 assessment year. One is an 8-year-old sale, but we still felt it was relevant because it was very similar to the subject property. When we look at our 3 approaches to value, we show the subject property is being assessed at $146 per square foot. The cost is showing ranges between $127 and $175 per square foot. The market is indicating the market range between $170 and $174 per square foot. We were able to come up with an income approach to value, in which I will go back on. This is a document that was supplied supplied from the appellant. We were coming up with a valuation of $1,085,072 using their rent rolls and expenses. We do show a lease of $21 per square foot. And this is a listing that we got from one of our local reps. Our subject property, you gotta look really close, it's pretty tiny when we have to expand the map, but it's in blue, it's right in the central portion of the map. And our comparables are, comp 3 is here, comp 1 is on the northwestern part of the map, and comp 2 is in the northeast corner of the map. With that, I will stand by and answer any questions.
Any further questions for our director?
Carla, so I see that the appellant provided income and expense statement.
Yes.
Did you all prepare a income and expense approach for this? Or excuse me, maybe.
Yes, right here is.
Okay.
Could you make it bigger, Jake? And this is our income and expense.
Okay, so your I&E approach is 1,085,000?
Yep, $1,085,000.
And and I see you went with a different approach. You must have went with a comp approach at 1.184. What was the reason for the difference? Choosing to go with the comp approach versus income?
You bet. Great question. So we chose the cost approach because it was more in line with the sales. So the sales was our justification on which approach we should choose. So since we don't do a paired sales analysis on a market for a market valuation, assessors really rely on the cost approach to value.
Okay,
We-
thank you.
And unless there's something else that indicate, like if the sales indicated it was more in line with the income of it, we would go with the income producing as the most credible approach.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Carla? If not, Tom, do you want to come up and state your name and address and then address the commission with your appeal?
Sure, thank you. Excuse me. So, yeah, my name is Tom McDowell, and I own the Tantera partnership. I'm the sole partner, so a partner and I built the building back in 2007, 2008. I bought him out shortly thereafter. You want my personal address? Is that what you said, residential?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
716 East Inverness Drive in Sioux Falls, just down the street from Jim. Do you mind was that it, or?
Yeah, you just
Yeah.
make your pitch.
Can I just pass out?
You bet.
because What
Any-
you saw in the income approach was my 22 numbers. I didn't have the 23 numbers
Thank you.
back when we started this process a couple months ago, and so.
Thank you.
Thank you. So these are the 23 numbers. And I appreciate, sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, here you go. So it's gonna be, it's gonna be very, I don't, you guys want one too, or? If you got extra. Sure. Yeah. Okay, it's gonna be similar to the 22 bottom line. And so honestly, with all due respect, I really don't know where the county came up with their income approach numbers, because this is based on this past year. The building is fully leased this past year. Unfortunately, I have lost a tenant since then, and we're looking for another tenant. I think one thing I should probably clarify is that we're asking for $21 gross, not triple net. And so I think that's maybe one area that the income approach here is unrealistic. They're showing $22,000 of expenses, and you'll notice on my sheet here that the expenses this last year, total expense $38,000, and that's before the property tax went up dramatically. It was increased dramatically for this calendar year. So. Now if you'll notice on the right side there on the taxes line, it's now $19,770. So it's $5,400 more than it was last year. So I deducted that, and you'll see the bottom line there. Net income this year is $43,475 for the 23 tax year if you take into account the increase in the property tax number for 23. So, and this was a very standard year for me in terms of expenses. You'll notice down below, I didn't have any big maintenance items. The maintenance, repair and maintenance there, it's, most of that is just an annual HVAC service fee that we have. So the expenses are very common for this building. And again, I'm hoping that I can get $21 gross. That's what we're asking. Nobody's bid on it yet. Even at $21 gross, the rentable square feet in the building, because I cannot, and I guess that's the other question I have is, I'm not sure where these income numbers are coming from on the sheet that the county provided, because number one, it's not anywhere near 99,000, and number two, I can't rent out the basement. I can't, even though, and I I told Ethan, he was been very kind with me when I've called him with questions. He's been very patient with me, but he said, I can't lease out, I can't get any rent from the basement. I made the mistake of finishing it off, 10 years ago and kind of kicking myself now because that seems to be included in the comp numbers. Again, the square footage for the rent, for the main level is 4,453 square feet. So I just don't feel that the comps are really comparable because of that, because they're significantly more than that. But the real bottom line here is that even if I could get $21 gross on the entire upstairs, the 4,453, it would be about $50,000 of net income. And, I've been told by a real estate friend of mine that at an 8% cap rate, that would provide a value of $625,000 based on the income. Now, I know that's unrealistically low, but I really do feel that the 1.184 is really unrealistically high when, really the best I could do is maybe earn $50,000 from this. And I am one of the tenants, by the way, but, so I just would ask that the income approach, that a correct income approach would be, would be included in this process, and somewhere in between, that's why I felt the 800,000 seemed reasonable. It's somewhere in between what the income approach would derive and what what the replacement cost is in this current market.
Tom, couple questions.
Yeah.
Did you include I know you said you rent to yourself.
Yeah.
Did you include that in the rental income?
Yes.
23? Okay,
Yep.
got it. So, got it. Carla, question. I noticed in the income approach, it didn't include the property tax, a line item for property taxes. Is there a reason for that?
I am going to refer you to Ethan for questions.
Sure.
He dealt
Yeah.
with the property owner
Yeah.
from the very start, so he's has the most knowledge.
Yeah, so I mean, basic question for me is property tax like not considered an expense for the purposes of the I&E approach here in South Dakota?
So if you look on our income approach to value, you'll see that we've removed the taxes from the expenses and moved it into the cap rate. So we loaded the cap rate, and that's the way assessors are taught to capitalize income for the income approach to value. And I think this is a very interesting example of the three approaches to value. If you look at the sales comparable number 2, that's a recent sale, sold for $174 a square foot. At $174 a square foot, this property is 6,681 square feet. That would bring, if you use that number, that would bring this property to $1,162,494. Now we can say that's our sales approach to value. We've got our cost approach to value as the second approach, you could say. We got $1,184,201. Those two align very close, within about $20,000. Now you have our income approach to value. Using our income approach to value, we come out to $1,085,000. It's the lowest of the three, but still somewhat near where our other two approaches came out. If you use the information supplied by the owner, we're coming out around $650,000, something along that nature. And we don't feel like in reconciliation that's appropriate. Furthermore, if I'm using the sales approach to value and comp number 2, that property does not have a basement. This property does have a large basement and it's finished. So whether that space is rentable or not, I do agree that it's likely that lower level probably can't be rented as office space because there's an issue with the amount of parking that this property has. I don't think there's enough parking according to the city of Sioux Falls to allow more rentable space, in the lower level. So that's my take on this.
So if you took his numbers of 86,880, substitute that in for that 99,000, and then you take out the 27,000 for the basement, what is your calculation using those numbers for the value approach?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Absolutely. So take out 99,204 under advertised rate per square foot and put in 86,880. and then delete the basement for 27,398.
So our total income, gross income, is just 86,880. Am I understanding you?
Yes.
Okay. And then use the 50% expenses that are stated, or?
Yeah. What do you, well, keep the expenses the way they are, that you have line itemed out there. Keep your loaded cap rate. What do you get for the value when you substitute?
672,585, and that's giving absolutely no weight to the basement finish. You know, the cost approach certainly would reflect a value to the cost of the basement finish. The income approach would not, if you're not considering any value to that. And I don't know, that's a very debatable subject with this property as to whether that basement finish, which amounts to, and on the cost approach, it amounts to $123,383. You know, does the market reflect that? I don't have another sale of an office. This is a very unique property. There aren't very many offices that have a lower level finished, much like a residential property where it's kind of a, you know, carpet, sheetrock, kitchenette, you know.
Tom, I've been in your property before. It's beautiful.
Thank
Thought
you.
about renting it at one time a few years ago.
Really?
Many years ago. Instead, I went across the street.
Okay.
I've said it many times today, I'm partial towards wanting to apply the income approach. And if what you're telling us here, and I have no reason to dispute it, is this is what your income and expenses are. I mean, I'll make a motion. I don't know if I'll get a second on it.
It's time.
Yep.
We're out of time.
So my motion is to value the I gotta scroll up here. I'll value the land at 200,000, and I'll value the building at 672,000 for a total of 872,000.
Motion by Commissioner Aaron's. Do we have a second by Commissioner Poppins?
I'll second and remind that the appeals are only good for 1 year. So you'll very likely be in front of us again next year, but I will vote on this.
We have a motion to put leave the land at 200,000, the building to 620,000 for a total of $872,000. Kristen, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries. I have a request for a recess. Do I have a motion for that effect?
Yes.
And a
Motion,
second?
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for a recess. Call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, we are now in recess. Mr. Poppins?
Yes.
Kristen, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, we are now out of recess, and we're on item number 6 with the Airboat Properties, and we have a stipulation.
Mr. Chair, while we were on recess, I did run up to the office for a moment, and I was notified by staff they're doing such a great job, because this is never ending this is just a rotating door of people calling in, people appear in person, people submitting, last minute documentation. We did get a phone call from the South Dakota Association of Fellow Christian Athletes that he was waiting for a call that was never received. We do have shown no documentation. We're an RSVP. I don't know if we want to
Let's take the stipulation.
turn
and-
around.
We have
Let's take
two,
the stipulations.
we have two
and then use that
stipulations.
time.
Let's get those out of the way.
And then dial back.
Yep.
So our next appeal is parcel number 280.23.15.001. It is located at 200 West 77th Street. It's owned by Hairbolt Properties LLC. There is a signed agreement between the property owner and the Director of Equalization where we have stipulated on an agreement for the valuation. The land valuation stayed the same at $212,700. We did decrease the structure by $401,660 for a total valuation of $614,360.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to accept the stipulation values.
Second.
Motion by Poppins, second by Aaron's to accept the stipulation from our Director of Planning and Zoning. Kristen, will you call the roll on that motion?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries. Next item we have is the Gary W. Jacobson.
Yes, our next appeal is parcel number 200.26.08.004B. It is Lot 4B of Prairie Tree Edition, combined with Swift's Edition of lots 4A and 5 of Block 3. It is owned by Gary W. Jacobson. There is a stipulation that I'd like to present for consideration. The land value stayed the same at $578,874. We reduced the structure value to $1,656,126 for a total valuation of $2,235,000. The appellant did submit a current appraisal for.
Very good.
Say the numbers again, because you said five something.
578,874 and 1,656,126.
You pointed that though, I can't see.
That was Jacobson?
You need a second for that? Or are you waiting for?
No, I second. I think he's indicating he's calling, getting ready on the next one.
Oh, Jack
Yeah.
Bowman's the attorney.
Hi there. I don't know if you guys can hear me. This is Jacqueline Bowman from Woods Fuller. I'm on the phone on behalf of Mr. Jacobson.
We hear you, Jacqueline. We'll be with you in a moment. We'll finish the,
Well, if we could.
This was the stipulation.
This is the stipulation. You're aware of the stipulation?
Are you speaking to me?
Yes.
Yes, I signed the stipulation on
Very
behalf
good.
of Mr. Jacobson.
And you want to accept that. We have a motion waiting for a second to accept the stipulation.
Second.
we have a motion by Commissioner Poppins, second by Commissioner Aaron's to accept the stipulation as so stated by our Director of Equalization. Further comments? Hearing none, will the Kristen call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes. Jacqueline, thank you for calling in. You are aware of what the stipulation was, correct?
Correct, I am.
Very good.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. I just have one follow-up question. Will we be
Yes.
receiving an updated assessment then also with the updated taxes based on this new agreed-on value?
So this is a 2024 valuation, and taxes are payable in 2025 on this
Okay,
value.
perfect.
And you'll
Okay.
receive notification on the decision by the board from the county auditor.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the call.
We'll dial back to our second item on the agenda, South Dakota Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Do we have a gentleman who wishes to speak?
Jake doesn't have a phone number?
Oh,
That was called.
we need the, yeah. Fellowship of Christian Athletes.
Yeah, that's on the.
Is that the number?
Well, it's called regardless.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pam?
Go to OAG.
Pamela Taylor? Taylor, excuse me, ma'am. We'll be up with you in just a minute after Carla gets done, and then we want to hear from you. Okay. Okay.
Our next appeal is parcel number 280.26.12.007B. It is Lot 7B, Block 12 Prairie Tree Edition in Sioux Falls. It's owned by Pamela M. Taylor. It is a bare residential lot that sits in Sioux Falls. We have it valued, the value went out at $36,136. It was appealed to the local board of equalization, and the local board, upon the assessor recommendation, lowered it to $9,636. The appellant appealed back the local board decision to be heard for county consideration. We do have some comparable of properties that we felt were similar to them that are excess land or excess land. So these are parcels that may be adjoining the landowner, but it has its own identification or parcel number. So we do consider those parcels excess land and we value them accordingly. We have a 3-tiered system for excess and then accessibility. So our excess land rate in Sioux Falls is $3 per square foot. And then if there is an accessibility or some other obsolescence that could be determined from a lot, then we'll give it the 3rd tier, which is 80 cents per square foot. During local boards of equalization, we determined that although this property doesn't have accessibility, it does have some ability where nothing can be built on it. Like it
has setback restrictions.
Yeah, there's
and
setback
topographical
restrictions,
issues.
it abuts commercial property. So we, at that time, determined that this property, we created the 3rd tier for access type parcels at 80 cents a square foot. So that was our recommendation during boards of equalization. The appellant is not in agreement with that valuation, so that's why it's being heard today.
Thank you.
You can see where our subject property is located. The other properties that we have a $3 rate on are in blue, so they're right in that same neighborhood. We determined this particular property to have 1 tier below what we put the comparable properties in as giving it an accessibility type rating. So that was why we determined it to be at 80 cents per square foot. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Carla. Ms. Taylor, do you want to come forward and please give your name and your address and then address the board with your appeal? Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm Pamela Taylor. I live at 5000 South Sunnymead Circle. And the property in question is right across the road from me on Sunnymead Circle. I was approached by the Prairie Tree Partners. They were using that little piece of land as a tree farm for their development over in Prairie Tree, but they had no use for it after they'd finished their Prairie Tree additions. So they approached me and asked me if I wanted to buy it because they had no use for it. It was full of potholes where they had dug up trees. It goes steep downhill, but at least it blocked the parking lot of the commercial property on the other side on Minnesota Avenue. I paid them $2,000 for that piece of property. And since 1999 through 2018, it was valued or assessed at $2,205. Now it went up in 2019 to $5,700. 2021 to 22, $6,600. Then it went up to 23 to 24 to $7,287. And then we had the big jump at $36,000, and it was reduced to $9,636. $36. It's not worth that. Who would buy that? It's 80 feet deep by 150 feet long, and it goes straight downhill. It's not mowable, it's not buildable. The only thing good about it is that it shields me from the parking lot across the street. Period.
Anything else, Ms. Taylor, you want to say? I think you've given quite a description of that piece of property.
Well, it's certainly not one that I could sell to anybody.
No
I mean,
good
they
deed.
couldn't use it for anything. They couldn't mow it, and it's got an XL Energy easement on it, a 10-foot easement across the front of it. And there's culverts that go from Sunnymead Circle down through, and there's a culvert at the bottom so that when it rains, like it did this weekend, there's a nice river flow that goes right across the end of my property in front of the parking lot.
No
It's,
good deed goes unpunished.
no, well, I'm sorry, but every year now it keeps going up in value. For what reason, I guess I would like to know. It's not the money part of it. I mean, I'm not talking about my homestead, which is across the street, which is valued at quite a hefty sum. I'm just talking about this. To me, it's the principle of the thing. I bought it for $2,000. I think the assessed value should stay close to that.
Just out of curiosity, so that's a parking lot right there. How come the church, whether you know or not, why didn't they keep it in the event they needed to expand their parking lot?
They couldn't because the parking lot goes like this. That's the only parking lot that's behind a commercial building on Minnesota Avenue. The rest of them are all in front. But this one goes down behind the building, and then it comes down to an area where the water flows, their parking lot water flows, everything flows, and the piece that I bought that goes 80 feet goes down to meet that.
Yeah, is it because there's a steep slope,
Very steep.
which obviously you can't see on a piece of paper? Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
I can show you, I guess.
You have
Want
a
to
photo,
see?
you said, ma'am?
Yeah, I do.
No, we'd like to see a photo.
Which one's the church?
Right here.
That's a church.
Well,
See,
if I
she
can get
lives
to
across
it.
the street. This is the church. and
It was
this is the parking
purchased in
lot.
98.
1998.
Yep.
Do you have a big picture?
See that? See the
Sure,
church, see the
yeah.
parking lot back here? They sold her that. Sold her a bum steer. And I guess what she,
I don't know if
lives
any,
straight
She
across.
lives
do you
over
want to
here.
actually
You know what?
see this?
Here, let's put it on the screen. There you go. Just set it in
Put
front
it
of
on
you.
the screen once.
Okay,
There, here you go.
well, you can't do anything with
this
it.
is my lot right here, Lot 7B. This is the commercial building on 5,000, and their parking lot goes down to this line. And then from there, it goes straight uphill to Sunnymead Circle. So I've got about, 15, 20 feet maybe that's level on that lot, and then it just goes straight downhill to meet this parking lot.
Yeah, it would require some considerable engineering and construction.
Oh, well, I
work.
don't think you could, because right here on Sunnymead Circle, there are culverts, and they drain right in here. And when the rain comes, it drains here, and then it goes through this lot over into the Tom Davis properties.
Ms. Taylor, where does that easement go that you were talking about?
My easement is right in front, right here. This is the XL Energy one.
Right in front,
Right, yeah, all the
Okay.
way across.
okay?
On the level part.
Yeah, on the level part, which I cannot do anything to. I can't plant anything there, I can't dig anything there, I can't do anything with that.
They won't even allow you a garden on there?
I put wildflower seeds out there, so it looks nice.
How did this thing even get valued at 36,000 in the first place?
square.
Through the algorithm of the
Yep.
mass appraisal?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
So on our, those types of properties that have their own parcel that they were connected to, we put $3 per square foot on them.
Okay.
Commissioners,
Until we, it was appealed and we started digging deeper. That's when we discovered it's 75-foot long, it's not buildable, it's not attached to the adjoining property owner. There were things that we noticed.
What's
from
going to
the
stop this from happening in the future? She had to keep coming back to appeal it every year?
No, we put a
No.
stipulation out there for the value that we're recommending today at 80 cents a square foot. And just based on the data without looking in deep into the details like, we did after it was appealed, it's a 12,000 square foot lot, which is a very average size for, a residential lot. Maybe not in this neighborhood, but
Yeah, when you look at it on paper, it's a nice big chunk of land. The problem is it doesn't take into consideration, it's got a huge,
Ditch.
Commissioners, we are at
which
our
is why we've
10-minute
changed our stance.
10-minute limit.
All right.
We need some action to be taken on Ms. Taylor's property here. So what direction and what do I hear for a motion?
let's, well,
I have a
here's
motion.
my rationale, Mr. Chairman, is may not be popular, but I'll throw it out there. In 2023, it was valued at $72.87. You didn't appeal it back then, so you must have been, at that point in time, you must have been okay with it. So my motion would be to set the value of this thing at $72.87.
Do I hear 5,000?
Well, I'll withdraw the motion after seeing the looks on your faces, okay? I'm just trying to be fair to other taxpayers as well, you know?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yeah.
just, if that is a valuation that you guys determine today, based on your decision, she will have to appeal it every year. Because we will put that 80 cents per square foot as our accessibility type pricing on it, so.
How come we didn't?
Everybody would like the 2023 values, just.
Well, yeah, I mean, how come she has to appeal that back if we say otherwise? Why would you run around us and do something different than what we decide?
Because our rates were determined using sales, and your rate was determined kind of just using historical
discretion.
information and the appellant's
Yeah,
personal feeling on what it's worth.
yeah, no, thank you, I appreciate
It
it.
says on the warranty deed that this grant is subject to easements, declaration of reservations, restrictions, and covenants running with the land, and that's all recorded here. Did you guys ever look all that up?
Yes,
Gentlemen, we have to try to keep somewhat of on schedule. We're running behind here.
Okay.
So I need a motion of some
I'm
kind.
gonna put it at $1, but that's not gonna help either. To maybe, so you don't have to come down, I'm gonna move it to what the assessor recommendation is. And maybe we can avoid to have to come back again, because otherwise that number does jump back up. I would like to put it at $1, and we'll see what happens next year. But my motion is to go to the $9,636.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to place the property at $9,636.
What is this lady's property tax bill on a $9,000 valuation?
It's not very much.
Is it worth more?
We have a motion. Christine, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes. Just, Mr. Taylor, for your recommendation, I would place zero on a piece of land that has no value, that you can't build, it's 80 feet deep, it has an easement, The only other thing that I could think of is has toxic waste in there, so that really would put
Yeah,
it
I
out.
can
But
see it.
you understand what they have to follow,
I
right?
understand, except are they going to now next year decide it's going to be worth more than?
Well, not unless we
Worth-
want to just
worth
have you
more
back.
than that?
If you
Not
want
with,
to,
They can.
not with the new
you
values
don't have
that
to
are-
come back.
So, very unlikely.
Unlikely, but it could be.
You better keep an eye on us.
Check your
Yeah.
mail.
Yeah.
Check your mail.
Well, you're going to get to the point where, I mean, I'll just put a for sale sign on it and see if I can get anybody to buy it for $10,000,
All right.
which will never happen, ever, ever, ever.
You, in this market, that's what's surprising. You just don't know sometimes.
are new homes.
Well, there's nothing there.
I know. I
Pamela,
do
thank you
appreciate it.
for coming down.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your understanding. We now move on to agenda item number 9, which is Eye Doctor LLC, which has a stipulation on it. And I think Scott Van Ginkel, are they here? Scott, you're here? We'll be calling on you in just a moment, please. Okay? Carla?
He was actually Higher Built Properties LLC as well. I- So our next appeal is parcel number 280.33.08.003B. It is Lot 3B, Block 8, Prairie Meadows, Second Edition. It's owned by Eye Doctors LLC. There is a stipulation agreement between the property owner and the Director of Equalization Office. The land value is going to remain the same at $653,103. We did lower the structure value down to $1,214,711 for a total assessed value of $1,867,814.
Unless the party objects, I'm going to motion that we accept the stipulated agreement.
And I'm going to second unless party objects.
We have a motion and a motion by Commissioner Poppins, second by Commissioner Aaron's to accept the stipulation that made the adjustment on this particular property at $1,867,814. Christine, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries. Next item, number 12 on our agenda, or number 11, excuse me, is the Shepherd, Kevin and Wendy. And are you here, Kevin and Wendy? Are they calling in? Do we know?
Jake's calling.
He's calling.
Hello?
Yes. Kevin,
Hi, this is Kevin DeShepper.
Kevin, we're going to be calling on you as soon as our Director of Equalization has a chance to describe this particular property, and then you will get
Okay.
your chance to address the commission with your appeal.
Thank you.
Our next appeal is parcel number 280.39.11.003. It's located at 1509 West La Quinta. It's owned by Wendy and Kevin DeShepper. It is a single-family home built in 2003. It has 2,420 square feet, 4 bedrooms, three bathrooms. It does have a full basement with 2,180 square feet. There is an attached garage of 1,004 square feet. The assessed value went out at $620,707. This was appealed to the local board, which is the city of Sioux Falls, in which time local board made no change to the assessed value. The appellant appealed the value back for county consideration. The assessors are recommending no change. The property is below cost and market of similar properties provided. Property does not qualify for an exemption, as it did in previous years. So we do show 4 comparable properties that we felt were similar to the subject property. All have lower level finish. Some Most of them have a little less lower level finish than the subject property, but we wanted to show the difference, just for your consideration. They all are a walkout basement, as is the subject property. Currently, our assessed value is $256 per square feet. Using the comparable and the assessed values, so the cost comparison, show a range between $280 a square foot and $312 per square foot. The market is indicating a market range between $298 a square foot and $390 per square foot. You can see where the property is located on the map. All of the comparables are in the same neighborhood as the subject property. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
What are the addresses that you guys are using for comparables?
Say, one moment. I'm sorry, we have a call going on, which is rather sad. Kevin, will you, if you wish to address the commission at this time, would you give your full name and address, please?
Kevin DeShepper, 1509 West La Quinta Street, Sioux Falls, South Dakota,
Thank you.
57108.
Okay, Kevin, give us your, you address the commission with your complaint. Thank you.
Well, you guys stated that there were 4 comparables that you used that were comparable. The last 5 comparables that I gave to the Equalization office here last week are all current listings within about 3 blocks of my house. All of them are severely less money. All of them have more, or 4 of the 5 have more bedrooms and more baths than I do. And the square footage is comparable when you put the total square footage finished together. I know most of the people that live in these houses, they haven't been able to sell them. They've been recently listed in the last 30 to 45 days, which were, I felt, to be comparable properties. So that's why I asked the question, which 4 addresses are you guys using there for your comparable? Because I submitted 5 earlier and 5 later. So we can do the actual comparison, I guess, because what you have my property assessed for is nowhere near what 5 different real estate agencies are listing comparable properties within 1 to 3 blocks of me in the same development. They're anywhere from 515 to 575 on the listings, and your assessed values, correct me if I'm wrong, are supposed to be what, 85% of the real value? And you have my assessed value at almost $621,000, and that's 85% of some number would put me in, I'm guessing, I have to do the math, but the high 6s. And none of these properties are listed anywhere near that. They're 100 to 180,000 less. And they're all built within 1 to 2 years of the same build time of mine in the same development. So I think you guys should take a serious look at that and reassess what my property is actually worth, because the 5 current listings listed are from 515 to 575. And they're all triple garages with 5 or 6 bathrooms, or 5 or 6 bedrooms and 3 or 4 baths. And the square footage is very comparable, and the year built is very comparable.
Mr. DeShepper, I did I went through all of your documents with the commission, just so you're aware of it.
Sure.
Okay, the ones that you handed to me last week.
Yeah, that's why I asked which 4 are you guys mainly looking at, so we could talk constructively if there's any questions.
It's part of your document that where we directed you to, you could look up all the documents that were on today's agenda.
Yeah, I had 5, and then you said you were mainly considering 4.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to make a motion.
All right. What's your motion?
My motion is this. Value the land at $64,030. And value the structure at $515,000.
Lower than last year.
For a total of $579,030.
Yes.
We have a motion from Commissioner Aaron's. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second by Commissioner Poppins. And I'll read this one more time. For the land is $64,030, for the structure at $515,000, for a total of $579,030. Kristen, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Will you just send me a corrected assessment then, or how will that work?
Yes, you'll be getting one in the mail.
No.
No, not in the mail? I thought our auditor.
It's not a corrected assessment. You'll get a letter from the auditor letting you know the decision that was made at the meeting.
Did you hear that, sir? Sir?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much for your consideration. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 11 on our agenda, which is dealing with Siegfeld and Charlotte Miller. Are they going to be on the phone,
No, they should be here.
or will they be here?
RSVP to be in person.
Okay. Well, that comes at 2:40.
Yeah, they got 9 minutes, yeah.
So
Jake, do you want to try the Christian athlete?
I'd have to see it again. He tried to call him, the guy called back, now Jake's tried to call twice.
Tag, 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 tag.
say, I don't know if this is fitting, but I will tell you that I just got a call from former Commissioner Wheeldryer's wife. Commissioner Wheeldryer is now in Doherty Hospice, and it is, if we ever wanted to express anything or say anything to him, it's rather very, very serious, Helen told me, so I just want to share that with you.
Well, thank you for doing that, Commissioner.
He is, he's non-communicative right now because he could be in a borderline coma, but
Are you there, sir?
No, he's not.
Oh, he's
No,
still,
not.
you still tried him. It's okay, get him.
One more time, one more time, we got 6 minutes, 8 minutes.
He can try as many as he wants between now and then.
we'll call on you in just a minute, as soon as you know the drill. Okay,
Our next appeal is parcel number 281.31.01.035. It's located at 2608 West Latigo Circle. It is owned by Thomas and Lisa Hanlon. It is a single-family home built in 2007. It has 4,718 square feet on the main level. It's a 5-bedroom, 4 full baths, and 1 partial bath. It does have a full basement with 3,425 square feet that is finished. It does hold a attached and detached garage. So the attached garage is 587 square feet, and actually it's 2 attached garages, and one is 613 square feet. It does have a swimming pool. The current assessment went out at $2,214,590. This was heard at local board. Local board made no change to the assessor's value. The appellants appealed back the local board decision for county consideration. That's why we're hearing the appeal today. We do show 4 comparables for consideration. These are unique homes. No home is exactly the same when you get into a custom-built home. But we felt that these 4 comparables were worthy of consideration just to show a market approach to value. Currently, the subject property is assessed at $469 per square foot. The cost of the comparables range between $415 and $561 per square foot. The market is indicating a market range between $722 and $1,103 per square foot. Our subject property is highlighted in blue in the western central portion of the map, and our comparable properties are in close proximity to the subject property, all within Sioux Falls. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Carla. Okay. Tom, do you want to come up, or Lisa, come up and address the
You have
commission?
documents?
Give your, I know this is a drill,
Set them.
full name and address.
You can set them
You're-
right here for viewing.
Thank you.
This may seem redundant, Tom, but give your full name and address, please, for the
Sir,
record.
Tom Hanlon, 2608 West Latigo Circle in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 57108. Sorry I couldn't make the local. I was actually on vacation, so I wasn't able to appear there, so I appreciate your time to be able to evaluate this. I took what I did is I kind of went out to all the neighbors in my neighborhood, which is, as already mentioned, 2608. And the one that's in yellow is my house, and all the ones that are around it are the ones that I kind of looked at what they're assessed at today and compared mostly just the square footage and things like that, because a lot of those houses are pretty close. There's some that are, as far as build goes, so I didn't really don't have a chance to go inside and look at square footage and such, but the two that I got asterisks there is the ones that I know for sure are kind of the same size as our house and well-built house. One's actually on the market, just went on the market a few weeks ago. That's the Hofer House, number 14 on the list there. But I looked at the square footage and I looked at what the tax is per acre and so forth, and did the comparison. And ours on a per square footage is the most out of all these 22 is the highest amongst the 22, where it's about tax per acre is 47,000 on ours, compared to this number here, compared to the 25,000 of the 22 on average tax per acre. And then I looked at the 5-year increase in the assessed value on each of these properties, about the percentage that went up each year over the 5-year period compiled. And ours came in at 47.8 compared to 42.6 on the rest of those properties. But the two I have asterisks there, Bush is just right next door to me. We bought at the same time roughly as they did, and ours was actually a little less than they did. We bought it at 1.15 1.175 back in 2010, December. They bought it in within a year, September of 2011, at 1.2. But their assessed value is 1.8 and ours is 2.2, so 400,000 less than we are. And then I looked at other properties I felt were very close. That other one, number 14, Hofer, they bought theirs at almost within 9 months of when we bought ours, 1.2 million roughly. We bought ours at 1.2 roughly, and they're assessed at 1.6. And I've been in that house. We almost bought that house, and it's on the market today. But again, I think that comparison, ours, and it's my fault for not, last year I missed the target date and so forth, and I think you guys even looked at that and didn't, there was one agreed that they would still look at it even though I didn't go to the local board, but then the rest agreed that because I didn't go through the local board, that it wasn't a valid appeal. But that's kind of my assessment, looking at it the source was Beacon, looking at it. I know these houses been in them, and without going into certain footage and so forth, you can see that we got the smallest are the largest per acre and tax per acre, and yet the assessed value is much higher than the ones that I think are comparable. So that's my argument. I appreciate your time and consideration.
We thank you for coming in. And any other comments to be made to the commission before we take into consideration what action we're going to take? Any questions of Tom here?
Houses they took into comparison were in our neighborhood.
That's the ones I saw up there is kind of the same argument the other guy made before us, where those are pretty far away from our houses. There's one that's just running around the corner that's on the market for 1.2, right, or 1.3, I think. The same thing. Those are far away, and it is when you get up in this price point, obviously it's hard to find them. But I know the houses in our neighborhood, and that's why I say what I'm presenting here today, that I think there should be consideration and when you're comparing neighborhood.
We thank you for that.
Anything else, Lisa?
I do have one question.
Okay.
Tom, I have one question.
We have a question.
Yes, sir.
So just to clarify, you purchased in 2010?
Yes, sir.
Did you do any modifications in that time period in the interior or exterior of that home?
No, the exterior, what we did is we did buy the lot next to us, and we added about, I want to say 20-some feet. We took off that lot and added it to this, so there is that, we still own the lot next to us, but it's smaller now because we did the, we changed lot lines on that.
The pool, you say you or do not have a pool?
Yeah, we do have a pool. That was there when we purchased.
It was there when you
Yes,
purchased?
sir. Everything else is the same since we purchased.
Is that lot you said, did you replat the property? So
Yes,
that
sir.
it's
Yeah,
all
we
one
replatted,
parcel?
yeah, yep. We had originally sold it to somebody because they were gonna put one house there, but we had a first right of refusal on it, and then they decided not to put one house, they wanted to put two, and so they were gonna sell that lot, and so I took the option and had the first right of refusal, bought it back.
Smart move. Mr. Poppins, are you preparing
I'm contemplating something here. It'll take me a little bit of time to get it figured
Bet.
out.
We have the time. Are the Millers here?
Yes.
Okay, we'll be next.
I can tell you my motion will be leaving the land at the 154,811. Why I cannot seem to operate my calculator today. I would place the structure at 1,762,000.
1,762,000
Yes.
for a grand total of 6, 11, 1,916,811.
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Poppins to maintain the land at the current level of 154,811 and to the structure at $1,762,000. Do we have a second?
Yeah, it's a reluctant second. Let me just explain. So yes, second for discussion. I think I was your one vote last year to give you some grace on the deadlines.
Okay.
I think that's in our discretion, but anyway, I probably wouldn't have gone as low as Commissioner Poppins did. I'm going to support it anyway. But I think you're in the ballpark there with regard to the comps that you showed us in the neighborhood, you know. So, I mean, that's why I can get on board with this.
And I will support this knowing that this is a 1 year and you're very likely going to have to review the information that's get presented as well and talk to us and we'll look at your evaluation at that time as well.
Okay.
Thank
Can
you.
you give me the total on that again?
We got, the total is 1,916,811. Kristen, you've heard the motion and the second, you've heard the numbers. Would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you for
coming.
your time.
At this time now, we'll take agenda item number 11, which is for Charlotte and Siegfried Miller. And we'll wait for after our Director of Equalization gets done, and then your folks come up and make your appeal. Okay? Carla?
Our next appeal is parcel number 280.89.00.001B. It's located at 3437 West 84th Place. It's owned by Siegfried and Charlotte Miller. It is a single-family home. It is a duplex, built in 2003. It has 1,418 square feet. It shows 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms with 1 half bath. It does have living area in the basement of 709 square feet. There is an attached garage of 858 square feet. Our assessment went out at $347,084. This was heard at the local level. The local board made no change and upheld the assessor's assessed value. This was appealed back for county consideration by the appellants. The assessor is recommending no change. The property is within the cost and market of similar properties that have sold. You can see we're showing 5 comparable properties that we felt were similar to the subject property. When you break down the 3 approaches to value, our subject property is valued at $245 a square foot. Our cost for the comparables is between $210 and $249 per square foot. When you look at the market range, the market is coming in at $212 a square foot to $287 per square foot. The comparables are close to the subject property, either within the same neighborhood or just across the 85th Street, just south of 85th Street. So they are close in comparison proximity to the subject property. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Thank you, Carla. Do either Lisa or want to come forward at this time and make your presentation?
Sig.
And for the record, Charlotte, and Siegfried, would you give your full name and address for the record, please?
Okay. Sig and Charlotte Miller,
Yep.
3437 West 84th Place in Sioux Falls.
Thank you.
I had not seen the comparables before, and could we scroll back to them, please?
That might be easier.
Oh, boy. Okay. Yes, I'm taking a look at 7611 South Peregrine. That is right within our neighborhood. It did sell in August of 2023 for $310. 7505 sold in 2022, also in our neighborhood for $330. That was a furnished home, and the price reflected that. 7619 sold in February of 23 for $295. That information sort of matches the information that I have of our direct neighborhoods. So those would be comparables, and therefore I find that listing us for an assessed value of 347, which I understand is to be listed at 90% of what the sales value would be. So I have ginned this up, I think accurately, 347, the sales price would have to be 385, 650, pretty much in that range, in order to get 90% of that to come out to the assessed value of what you folks say is 347 for our property. I feel that the 385 sales level might be stretching it just a little bit too much, even in today's market. And I know that 24 is anticipated by a realtor with whom I've spoken, that the increases will be about 4.5% over 2023. I tried to find this information as to what the anticipated sales prices for 24 were going to be, as well as what they were actually in 23 from the Board of Realtors in Sioux Falls, and I was unsuccessful in visiting with the head of that department, agency, in getting any information. He said, go to any realtor. I did. I was out for a walk the first Sunday in February, saw an open house sign, stopped in, talked to a realtor. He pulled out his phone and he told me the information of 4.5% from last year. He was not just speaking off his head, he was taking it from actual information, or I assumed that. And he said that the previous 2 years, 22 and 21, 22, when prices were going bonkers crazy, that the average price increase in Sioux Falls at that time was 8 to 15%. During those years, the millers' assessed values went up 17% in one year and 16% in another. And when it came to the actual taxes, we had a 12% increase in 2023, which was acceptable. We bounced from 41 to 46. I kind of went last year, well, that's acceptable. This year, bouncing up to $5,499 caught my attention. And that is why I am here today, because I just feel that the comparables that are listed are listing us quite a bit higher. One of those houses that was listed, the one sold in 2022, is a ranch-style house like ours, finished basement. And the other two houses sold in 23 were up and down splits, which I understand is perhaps a little bit lesser in value, but they were sold at $295 and $310. And then for us to be listed at $347, gin that up to an actual sales price of $385, I believe is a little bit excessive. And we would appreciate any consideration that you could give us. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Any other questions for the Millers? If not, Commissioners, what action should we take?
I guess we did.
Ma'am, you all are asking to be, your total value to be at 334,999. Is that correct?
Yes, that
correct.
was just a number that I sort of just popped out of my head, and that may have been a rather inappropriate suggestion. Because I was working with someone from the assessor's office. She was taking me through the machinations of the form, and she said, put in a number. And so,
No, I get it.
yeah, so
No,
what I
that's
put
fine.
in may have been thinking, this
Yep.
house is worth $2.37.
Charlotte, nothing's a
I
bad number,
apologize.
it's a number, okay?
Yeah.
What do
No,
you
get
got
it.
in mind, Commissioner?
Well, and I see that the county is at 347, so
Yes.
really we're about 12,000 apart.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say, you don't wanna use Zillow, because today Zillow is listing your property at 354.9. Zillow says your property is worth more than what the county says it's worth today. So
Yeah,
I'd be
and I
careful
took-
about using Zillow as a, yeah, because they use an algorithm just like,
Because
whatever theirs
when
is.
I checked Zillow, truly a realtor in Redfin back early February, at that point Zillow said 342, and it ranged up to Redfin at 371.
yeah, Redfin tends to run higher, but as we get into the spring months here, houses are gonna start to
Right.
tick up in
Right.
expense. Has there been any structural deficiency with your house, basement flooding, old roof,
No,
walls,
no,
sheetrock,
No.
siding?
no,
So it's in good shape,
yes,
okay, all right.
it is 20 years old as of this summer.
Yep.
We moved in.
Yep. Well, but to be honest here, you're only 12,000 apart, so I guess here's what my motion will be. My motion is to value the land at 41,412. And then I will value the structure at 305,000.
So you're leaving everything,
Leaving it the
Yep.
same.
Leaving it the same?
Yep.
we have a motion to leave this
I'll
thing,
second for discussion.
and we have a second, discussion.
Unless you all got some kind of explanation as to why it isn't worth the 12,000 more.
I'm not gonna, it's,
There are 3 houses right within our development of 30 homes. And those were the comparables that were used. And they have sold for $295, $310, and $330.
Can you look
And the
those up?
$330 was finished.
Can you look those up?
Could you give them the
We can
sheets?
look up what she's referring to, but I do
It's
want to
on
point
here.
out on our subject, in our comparable, comparables 3 and 4, they're on a slab, they don't even have a basement. So, and then they have a basement with lower level walkout. Comp 3 is probably,
Give them something.
Comps 1, 2, and 3 are all within Peregrine Place, and they all have basements. And yes, 4 and 5 do not.
And of these sales that we just referred to, you have the largest home, but not the largest lower level finish. And 2 of those 3 have walkout lower levels, and you do not.
Correct.
call this question.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on what Commissioner Aaron's had proposed was to,
Clarification,
up,
you said 305, and then everybody said leave it the same, but the same would have been 305, 672.
My motion is what it is.
so
Oh.
it's
Yep.
305,
Gotcha. All right.
$672. Kristen, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, I'm reluctant on that one. I would have liked to have seen some adjustment. made, but yes.
Okay.
Motion carries. I think, folks, to be very honest with you, I think there's sympathy up here. But on the other hand, a lot of the things which you had talked about, some of these were slabs, did I hear you say, Ethan? And that's, a basement has a value, a walkout is a value. I think you have an extremely good property. And that is what it is. So, anyway, that's the verdict of the commission on this
Today.
day. Any other comments?
Wish them the best.
You
Okay.
can come back next year if it jumps up.
Okay. We
So
thank
in
you,
other
folks.
words, we are here also to pay our taxes, and therefore we just write the check for $5,499.
I will say that there's a summer study coming out from our legislature trying to come up with solutions, because it is a severe problem throughout the state, and especially in Lincoln County, as we all know. So we'll see what that study.
We don't have the authority to change the mill levy.
Correct, I understand.
We need the legislature to do that for us.
Give us some assistance somehow.
Charlotte, and they want to hear from you because they're concerned about senior citizens remaining in their home with taxes continually going up. They are this is the state legislature. Jack Kobeck
Okay.
is the senator. You probably heard of him.
Yes.
He's the one, the prime sponsor of trying to get something done. You don't have to necessarily wait. You can look up his number and call him. Because he wants to do, he had proposed legislation this year, but it didn't pass. But he does want to hear from individuals like yourself. And something has to be done. So your voice should not be silent,
Okay, thank you.
okay?
Thank you.
All right, we're moving along here to try to keep on schedule. We now have agenda item number 13, which is Shelley Fossum. Will she be on the phone or will she be in, Shelley.
back of the
You've been
room.
sitting back there so quiet, I'm sorry. You know the drill, so as soon as Carla gets done, come on up, okay?
Our next appeal is parcel number 281.33.09.004. It's located at 8120 South Grass Creek Drive in Sioux Falls. It's owned by Shelley Fossum. It is a single-family home built in 2006. It has total square footage on the main level of 1,729 square feet. It has 4 bedrooms, a full basement with 1,395 square feet of finish in the basement. It has 3 bathrooms. It has an attached garage of 818 square feet. The assessed value went out at $515,045. This was appealed to the local board. The local board did make a change in a land correction, as they did on several properties in Lincoln County in this neighborhood, upon the assessor recommendation, lowering the land value to $65,354. Left the house value at $414,694 for a total valuation of $480,048. The appellant did appeal back the local board's decision for county consideration. The Director of Equalization is recommending no change to the new corrected value. Property is below both the cost and the market ranges of similar properties. We did find an error in the land table and then corrected all those properties at the local board. Appellant would like blanket adjustments only being applied to assessments. The assessment and reappraisal process has been explained to the appellant. I personally have spoken with the appellant. She's asked some very great questions, made me think and get back to her, and we've just had a lot of back and forth conversations with each other, as well as 3 other staff members in the office. Our sales and assessments, I think, are very good and they're credible, and we corrected the mistake that was applied on this property at local board. I do believe our comparables are current. They're credible. They're close in proximity and size and age of the subject property. We did note for extra consideration, because of the lower level finish, we noted whether it was a multi-level property with a garden view or whether it be a walkout basement.
Not multi-level, but partitioned basement.
Oh,
Versus
okay,
a walkout.
multiple, okay, thank you for that clarification. So it's finished living area in the basement. The subject property is being assessed at $278 per square foot. Using our comparables, the cost is coming in at $288 to $326 per square foot. The market is indicating a market range between $322 a square foot to $424 per square foot. I don't see a map. Where's the map? Well, there are no maps for the sales. I can tell you just by looking at the parcel numbers themselves, they're all within the same development as the subject property. They are within blocks from one another. I apologize, there's no map for viewing. With that, I will stand by and answer any questions.
What was Carla? The local board dropped the land price down from 100,351 to 65,354. And then you adopted that recommendation. Why is that?
Right, there was there were some land errors on a neighborhood, and this was an error that we had caught during appeals, and we took all of our corrections to the local board for correction.
Okay.
And then all of those folks in that neighborhood received a notification from the city of Sioux Falls letting them know that that valuation was corrected for the '24 assessment year.
Okay.
Yep.
So basically just the calculation and you had to bring it to the local
Absolutely,
board.
yes.
Local board didn't make any other changes though, did it?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Apologize, that wasn't attached. So here's the subject in blue, and then the comparables are all within the same neighborhood as the subject property. Thank you.
Any more, Carla?
I'll just stand by for any questions.
Any questions for Carla? Shelley, do you want to come up, please? And give us your name and address and address the board?
Can I give you a revised sheet?
If you have a handout,
Yeah.
you can hand it out. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, Shelley Fossum, 8120 South Cross Creek Drive. As Carla said, she met with me for an hour and a half trying to explain everything to me because I wanted to understand before I stand up here and say that I feel like something is wrong, and that has really been and I don't even know if this is an appeal type situation because I think it kind of piggybacks off of what you guys had talked about this morning on that $1 million house range, that to me, I just feel like there's something within the system that is producing very odd results. And I think through my discussions with Carla, I've figured out what it is. And I think it is in this land table revaluation because according to what the assessor's office has told me, that the base price of lots are based off of your median of your neighborhood. And so my neighborhood is 10,000 as a median. And I know that when I bought my lot, I was one of the smallest lots because that's all I could afford. So I just had a tough time figuring out how my median could be the same as what the base price is. And then when I met with Carla, she had this document pulled up, and what kept drawing my attention was Heather Ridge had a 25,000 square foot base. And to me, Heather Ridge and Cinnamon Ridge and everything that's included in all of them are very similar. So I went and pulled all of the square footage of all of these neighborhoods to see, like, am I absolutely off base that these are completely different and should be different? Because, yeah, if the numbers work out, I'm fine with it. But my issue is that I feel like I'm now at the exact same price as per square foot as the people across the street from me, as Prairie Hills South, and then yet Heather Ridge, because they have a huge range, is still at the $5. And so I guess that's where I just feel like I should be proportionate. I don't have a problem with my numbers increasing or what my numbers are. I just think that I should be proportionate to the house across the street. And so when you look at these median numbers at 11,544 is what I came up with for my neighborhood, and then the Heather Ridge neighborhood, 12,200. Well, then at 10,000 for a base for us and 25,000 for a base for them, instead of being at $5 where we were, now all of a sudden you get pushed up to 650 because you're essentially saying 426 lots in my neighborhood are over the base and get pushed down to 90 cents. So I guess I just feel like there's something still off in math somewhere. That's kind of where I'm at. And I just hope it gets looked at. Whether it's an appealable issue or not, I just more want to bring it to your attention and hope that some of these, what looks like math errors to me, or results that are just skewed, can get addressed.
So, I noticed the local board dropped your assessed land value down from 100,000 to 65,000. You have listed the value you want to see your land at as 56,000, so basically another $9,000 drop. Is that because you feel that, or because it is in fact your lot is smaller than the rest of your neighbors?
Exactly. Across the street. I'm looking at across the street.
Right. What's your lot size?
10,400, and across the street is 12,040. And yeah, those, and before you talk, because I also looked at, well, if this is all just part of a total, well, then I don't care, because if everybody's going up the same, yeah, my land's only a part of the total. But when I look at mine, I go up 6.91, across the street 5.56, Heather Ridge 5.06, and then this Prairie Hills, back to this $1 million, something off in these $1 million range, they go down by 1.55. So that just all doesn't really make sense to me, so.
Do you not take issue with the house valuation then? It's just the
No,
land
it's just land.
valuation?
And the only reason I even figured it out was when I first got my appraisal, it was so high. And then I went and looked, and my land went from 50 to 100. So that's when I first emailed the assessor. And from the beginning, I've said, I don't know if this is something I should appeal, because it more just feels like a math error to me.
And that was a math error. And, you know, there were, I believe, 4 people that called our office. And when we discovered that error, That's when we took it to the local board and said, we need to correct this.
And I wouldn't call it a math error. I would say it was a data entry error because I personally put the data or the number into the system as 10 instead of 650, and there was 10 right above it, 650 below it. I did make a mistake on 642 properties. They've all been corrected now
you
except
fixed
this
it.
particular property.
You corrected it, though.
Yeah.
In hindsight, through the local board, we were able to correct it.
And when we look at our tables and we're creating our land valuations and our tiered system, you know, I've personally went and talked to the appraiser that reviewed this neighborhood, and we looked at a median size lot at 10,000 square feet and 12,000 square feet and 11,000 square feet. And, you know, when we look at 11,000 square feet as our base and then we tier it from there, the appellant's property changed $400. You know, it just,
$400
but
in valuation.
statistically, the 10,000 as our base top tiered value, statistically for the entire neighborhood fit the model. If we would have chosen an 11 square feet as our tiered base, our top level, that would have brought that neighborhood statistically over assessed compared to what we were appraising the other neighborhoods in the area. And statistically, we want to be treating everybody fair. Her entire neighborhood is being treated fair. Everybody up to 10,000 square feet is at $6.50 a square foot. And then from there, it gets tiered down. Everybody is being treated fairly. And statistically, it brought our median where we wanted everyone to be. And
what's your square footage, over 10 or under 10?
10-4. But I guess my question goes back to then, how does another neighborhood get put at 2 times their median to be their base? Because then that would bring your lower dollar amount down, put you back into proportion of the square footage of the neighbors. So that's kind of where I'm at of, obviously, if you put me at 2 times the median, like you do Heather Ridge, you're gonna be back down at like the $5, $5.25 per square foot. So that's my not understanding, why can one neighborhood get put at 2 times and my neighborhood is put at 0.87 of the median.
And I can't answer that here today, and that was not a discussion until today. I would have showed you all that data and why we determined the $2,500.
I did email that back to you of why it was 2 times, so, sorry.
Okay, I think we need to move forward.
We have a timeline? Yes.
I think they made the correction. I don't know that I've seen anything that would counteract that to justify lowering it any further today. With that, I would move to go with the new assessor's recommendation.
Have a motion, Commissioner Poppins, to accept the assessor's recommendation at the land at $65,354, the house valued at $414,694, and for a grand total of $480,048. Do we have a second for that one?
You have a second. And I'm glad they owned up to it, made the correction. I'm glad you were able to bring it to everybody's attention.
We have a second from Commissioner Aaron's. Kristen, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Wish you well. We now are on our item number 14 on our agenda, which is the Wiggs, Corey and Heather Wigg. Are you here, sir? We'll be calling on you in a minute. Okay. Carla?
yes. Our next appeal is parcel number 281.34.06.037. It's located at 700 East 77th Street in Sioux Falls. It's owned by Corey and Heather Weig. It is a single-family home, 2-story, built in 2020. It has 4 bedrooms, 3 full baths. It does have a basement with 1,203 square feet. It also has an attached garage of 1,068 square feet. The total assessed value went out at $821,882. We do show 5 comparables that we wanted to show you for consideration. I believe they're good comparables. Most of them are, well, half of them are in the same neighborhood as the subject property, 3 of the 5. They're very similar. Some have larger basement finish, some have no basement finish. We provided that information to you for consideration, for decision-making. Price per square foot, we have the subject property at $273 per square foot. The cost range is between $284 a square foot and $385 a square foot. The market is indicating a market range between $292 a square foot and $421 a square foot. The assessors were recommending no change. The value is lower than market and cost ranges of the comparables. I do want to add that this was heard at local board. Local board made no change to the assessor's value. The appellants appealed the local board's decision back to county board in consideration. You can see where the subject property is located in blue in the western or eastern side of the map, as are 3 of the comparables. The other 2 comparables are west of the subject property. I think that is it. So I will stand by for any questions.
Commissioners have any questions for Carla? If not, Mr. Wigg, do you want to come forward? And state your name and your address and address your appeal to the board.
Hi, my name is Corey Wieg. I live at 700 East 77th Street in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, as was just described. I did go to the first appeal, and it's the first time I've ever had to do this. I always keep a good tabs. I'm an accountant. I know what reasonableness means. And when I look at the reasonableness of how my property has been assessed since we built it it was 2021 is when we closed on it. It hasn't progressed the same as my neighbor. I'm looking at my neighbors. Again, I look at reasonableness when it comes down to all of this. I know that price per square footage is one way to something down as far as what it is. I mean, there's a house up the street of me of 201 East Shadow Lane. That's 5,500 square feet. They have tried to sell it a few times. It's gone from 1.2 million to, I think maybe it's down to 890,000 now. Assessment value on that is 901 for the structure, and 120. But as far as price per square footage, it doesn't really line up. There's a lot of houses that will be built. Mine's a 2-story. We decided to finish it all. I kind of disagree with the square footage in the basement of 1,200. That must include the utility room, which I don't know if that's finished square footage. Our house has 4,000 square feet. But again, I know that something has to be assessed, and square footage is one of those ways. But we built our house along with 3 or 4 others that were on that street. So when we look at my assessment, it came out at just under, I paid $610,000 for my house. My neighbor paid $857,000. His assessment this year is at $716,000. Mine is at $821,000. I just don't know from a Department of Equalization how that becomes equal. If it's based on square footage and they don't have a finished basement, that's one thing. But the value of what they paid, true value in my opinion was when you build a house, you pay for every bolt and everything else in there. We had a property assessment done of $600,000 when we bought it. And as I discussed, I think I discussed my property with the assessor a couple of years ago when it started to go up, and my neighbors were not going up accordingly. I've missed the timeline for reporting that, but at that time was told that like a valuation for sale isn't necessarily something that we can put an assessment value on. I would just like to understand, and why I'm here today is to understand how my property has stuck out like a sore thumb based upon the equal application of other property values within my neighborhood. Those who have been purchased at the same time and have been built at the same time. There's another house that's was purchased for $990,000. At the same time mine was, that just crept to $890,000. So I understand that sale value has to play some part in this as far as showing value of what somebody is willing to pay for a property. They paid $990,000 for it in 2020, and it still hasn't assessed for that here all of these years later. Mine has gone up 37%.
Anybody have a question or an answer to Mr. Wiggs' question about how his house, as I understand it, Corey, you're feeling your house is isolated,
Absolutely.
you know,
I did
as opposed to the neighborhood.
I do. I did a search of 3 miles out, which I accompanied with my assessment. If anybody had looked at it, I'm not sure. I had to get to 80 properties before I got to something that was sold for $600,000 that had an assessed value in my range. And that's just 3 miles radius of my house.
Is there, from the assessor's standpoint, is there a disproportionate amount of increase on Mr. Wiggs' house as opposed to his neighbors?
We did look at last year's valuation versus current valuation, and there was an adjustment made to your house previously. It was in our obsolescence world, it was called a two-story adjustment. So homes of two-story in your neighborhood were receiving 10% obsolescence because of the two-story adjustment. And when we went back and reviewed all of our sales for the 24 assessment year, the two-story adjustment that was being applied to those properties was no longer credible, meaning homes with 2 stories were now selling for more than what we had them originally assessed, so we had to pull that obsolescence off. It's an adjustment that is looked at each year, each sale year, to see, are adjustments still credible? Are they warranted? It's a very common adjustment, not only for Lincoln County, but other counties in the state that have a 2-story home. Sometimes in the market, it indicates there's an adjustment. Our townhomes sometimes have adjustments for similar, because they're a townhome or a duplex. So the obsolescence that we apply one year can get removed the next year just because of our sales that take place.
So in other words, my house is assessed 10% higher value than a ranch house?
The way I would put it is, your statement was that you saw a bigger increase than the rest of your neighbors. I would say look at the 2-story neighbors. Did you look at any of those?
So what about the fact that it cost, and I don't know if anybody's built during COVID, but it was very expensive to build during COVID, and that's what I did, unbeknownst to me. As far as value of a house, that's exactly what it cost to build my house. And it's exactly what it cost to build my neighbor's 1-story house who is a modern house like myself, $857,000. His house does not assess for even the value of that yet 3 years later. It doesn't make sense in my head. Again, I'm reasonable when it comes down to it. If everybody else's looked the same, I wouldn't be here today.
Do you have other two-story houses in your neighborhood?
Yeah, I do. In fact, the proposal that I put forward was a house, the two-story house that's just down the street for me. That's where I would like to see my assessment. I think it's fair from that perspective.
Do you have
from
an
a s-
address?
Yep, I think I put it in, it's on my sheet here. 600.
I mean, I could see the other two stories in the larger area that you were compared against.
Yeah, and.
But if you've got something you think is closer, look, they'll punch it in.
So 804 East 77th Street. Thank you. Again, they paid $50,000 more for their house than I paid for mine. Just to put that in perspective, at the same time. It was built at the same time. It's assessed this year for $716. Mine's at $821.
We need to terminate this one because our time is up on our 10 minutes, trying to stay on schedule. So, Commissioners, you've heard from Mr. Wigg, you've heard from our assessor. Do you have any proposals to bring forward?
What was that similar property value? Is that what we're
So-
waiting on?
The parcel or the property address that I looked up was 804 East 77th Street. It just recently sold for $716,000, and that is actually the current assessed value, $716,000.
Right, and they built their house the same exact time I did for $50,000 more. Again, I'm just talking from a reasonableness perspective. I don't know, mine is on gold or something, I don't know.
Yeah, that was a very unique time too, if people had contracted it versus if they were just at the market at that time, it was just chaos.
Yes.
You couldn't get a contractor to give you more in about a 7-day.
Still waiting.
So the particular property that the appellant is addressing, it is 2,700 square feet county records versus 3,000 square feet. So it is smaller than
804, is it a finished basement? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yep, it does have a finished basement as well, but yours is 100 square foot larger for basement finish.
I don't believe that's correct on my basement.
That's just what we have on record. It doesn't look like we were allowed inside your house for a lower level inspection. So we made our assumptions based on the blueprint. And it appears to be pretty accurate from what I could just see on the
So how many
blueprint.
square feet do you have my house at?
Commissioner Aaron's, do you have
sorry.
you've been working on a proposal?
I don't, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Commissioner Poppins, do you have one?
My motion is going to be to stick with the assessor's recommendation for this property.
Is that your motion, sir?
That is my motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Poppins to stay with the assessor's presented value. Do we have a second?
A reluctant second.
We have a reluctant second on this one. Any other comments or questions before we call the question? Hearing none, Kristen, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes. Although, Mr. Wigg, I do think you have made some valid points, but I wish we had, this is what it is. We deal with the facts that we have in front of us.
At the time.
So we thank you for your time and your involvement. Sorry. Now we go to agenda item number 15, which is dealing with Mark and Carol Weber. Wow. Yes, here.
Our next appeal is parcel number 281.57.01.012B. It's located at 7506 South Grand Arbor Court in Sioux Falls. It's owned by Mark A. and Carol Weber Trust. It consists of a single-family home. This is a duplex built in 2018. It has 2,443 square feet, 4 bedrooms. It does have a full basement with 2,017 square feet of living quarters with walkout. It has 3 standard bathrooms. It does have an attached garage of 1,005 square feet. Our assessment went out at $827,754. This was appealed to the local level. The local board made no change. And then the appellant appealed the local board's decision back to county board for consideration. We do show 5 comparable properties that are similar to the subject property. The comparables are older. We do show just a couple that are 2020, well, actually, the sales are they're new. 2022 and 2023 sales. Our assessed value is coming in at $349 per square foot. The cost is showing a cost range between $315 and $354 per square foot. So it is on the upper end of the cost range. Our market is indicating a market range between $345 and $392. So these are tight comparables when I look at those types of ranges. It's still within the market range, so we're not over market value on this property. The assessors are making a recommendation for no change as the property is equally assessed and under market value. The subject property is located in blue in the northwest corner of the map. The comparables, we have 2 comparables that are in the same neighborhood as the subject property. We do show 3 other comparables that are in a different neighborhood but felt they were comparable to the subject because we're trying to find some of those higher end duplex sales. So with that, I will stand by for any questions.
Carla, I noticed that in 2020 through 22, the land value is set at like 95,000, then it jumps up in 23 to 105, and then now for this, it dropped down to 45,920. What's the reason for that decrease?
I reviewed that as well, and because I was thinking, why did this go down? So during our review of the entire neighborhood, we reviewed the entire neighborhood. There was a pocket of properties, I believe there was 6 of them, where they were platted at a later date in this entire neighborhood, and those properties were selling at that time for in the upwards of 90,000 for a lot, for just a half a duplex lot. And when we went in and reevaluated the entire neighborhood, these properties were grouped in with the entire neighborhood and not just looked at as just 6 properties. There was nothing that indicated other than the sale prices. I know the sale prices are, they are considered, but when we looked at the entire neighborhood as a whole, not just 6 properties, that is why this particular property saw a decrease in valuation. 5 other properties like it showed a decrease.
All right.
There was nothing, they weren't abutting a golf course or had a view unlike the other properties to show where they were something other than, but they definitely had selling prices that were different. And I don't know if it's because it was at the tail end of that development, so the supply and demand came into play during the time that these properties were sold.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Weber, do you want to come forward, state your name and your address, and present your appeal to the board, please?
Mark Weber, 7506 South Grand Arbor Court, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, 57108.
Okay, thank you.
Myself and Alan Amdahl built this twin home for ourselves. He's on one side, I'm on the other. The assessment that I started with in 2021, tax value was $533,000. That's right at what we have into these twin homes. Comparing them to the neighborhoods, we're probably one of the largest or most expensive tax than any of them. I wondered the same thing, why my land value went from 105,000 down to 45,000. That was one of the questions I had. We're on the smallest lots in that vicinity. There's no other, the neighbors across the street have got lots more ground than we've got, and we're still valued at the same amount. Everything I can find in the neighborhood is anywhere from 600 to 650 is about the best you're gonna get out of those twin homes, and yet we're valued at $825,000. There's no way I'd ever get $825,000 for that house. And I've got 3 other twin homes that are right beside me that are having the same issues. They said to go down and visit with you guys, see if they could do some reconsideration on this. There's a brand-new home on the end of the street that was built, and their taxes are less than what I've got on my twin home. And I don't know why. And they've got more ground and it's as big a house as I've got. And I took the evaluations. I went across the street. I went in the neighbors and tried to find twin homes to get where the new ones are selling, and they're not getting that kind of money out of them.
Have you got any of these for sale yourself, sir?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
I'm not into selling.
You're not in the business.
No,
I
no.
read your thing here.
So,
Do you know what those new ones are selling for?
I sent a couple new ones that are over in Trivy Court in, what they're selling those for, so.
Can I
Yeah, go ahead.
see if if you send in documents?
I mean, it's a triplex that's right on Western Avenue that just got sold.
Sidewalk?
Yeah,
Oh, that's a picture, okay.
The triplex got sold. Do you know what that was sold for?
I don't know. I didn't get the sale price on it. I just seen that it was sold, so, huh? It's on Grand Arbor.
You did send in some sales though?
Me?
Yes.
No, I didn't send
Oh,
any
you
sales.
did,
No,
okay,
I didn't
that's
send
what I
it-
was trying
no,
to.
No, I didn't send,
Okay.
I didn't get any
Okay,
sales on houses,
okay.
so.
I thought that's what you
No,
had.
I'm sorry. No, I just did it on the newer twin homes that were on, over there that Paradigm was selling over there, so.
So let me ask you this, sir. You didn't put anything down for value. What do you think should be your,
Well, I understand that I'm gonna be in the 650 range, but certainly not in the $825,000 range. I mean, that's realistic for our neighborhood.
So coming back to 650 puts you basically in that price range where they were in 2021, right before 22.
Right.
Are we saying the lot values are too low? Is that the concern?
I think your lot values are fine. I just don't know why, and you explained to why they did that. But I didn't look at the rest, excuse me, I didn't look at the rest of the evaluations in the neighborhood, why, and I've gone through that whole complex. I mean, there's a few houses that the taxes did drop on, some of the twin homes up on, further around the court. I've got one up there that went down.
Well, if I may, we don't look at what taxes are. That's not
No,
the
no,
way
I mean,
this
I'm
works,
just
you
looking
know.
at the value.
The total value, and
Right,
it appears that Amdahl Construction sold comp number 1 back in 2021. Are you familiar with that? It's a few houses down to
Yeah.
the west from you.
Right.
And it's smaller than your home. It looks like it's very similar in quality,
It is.
and sold for $984,000.
But there's a lot more to that house. I mean, that garage there's a lot more house to that. So that's a 4-stall garage.
You know, we do value the garage per square foot, so we would be, giving some consideration to a difference in size of the garage, but
So,
I don't know, the
that's a
650
big
seems a
lot.
long ways away from that.
What is that house assessed? You said it sold for 9. What is it?
984, we have it currently assessed at 802 because it's
802.
smaller. It may have a larger garage, but it appears the subject also has a 3-stall garage.
yes, I have a 3-stall garage. Yeah, a small
But it's a
3-stall.
smaller unit. Finished probably the same?
Yes. if not nicer.
So, I know we can't get to 600. There may be some movement in here. It is amazing what people, we just never know what people will pay until they go on the market. And that's what we're faced with, and I'm sure you understand it.
Oh, I
but
do. I mean, I'm in the
We
plumbing and
send
heating
the
business, I
information,
know.
or the office sends it to the state, and then the state takes a look at our actual sales compared to our assessments. And even if we have it assessed at 500,000, if they sell at 900, the state's gonna make the adjustment for us. And it's that taxable value that we're trying to get to, ultimately, that it will affect the taxes. You know, I'm surprised that the lot value is that low. I think you're getting a benefit on that one. But, you know, the errors can be in your favor at sometimes too. You know,
It's a very small lot.
it's a very small lot.
To come
but-
up with $90,000 per square foot, we'd had to put double what we have in the entire neighborhood, and it just isn't different.
Yep, and it's, I think, in his benefit this time.
Yeah.
I have a recommendation or a motion.
Thank you.
I'm gonna leave the land value at 45,000. I don't have the total, so Sherry, if you're ready.
45,920.
Yep, 45,920.
920.
I am going to adjust the house down to 710,000. And whatever the total is.
755,920.
Thank you.
I'm on the wrong slide.
We have a motion.
Am I on the
by-
wrong slide?
I'm
No.
on the wrong slide.
You're on the wrong slide.
You're on the right one,
You're on the right one.
Commissioner.
Thank you. So that is my motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Poppins
It's been a long day.
to keep the land value at 45,920, reducing the house from 781,838 to 710, for a grand total of 755,920. Do we have a second for that motion?
It's not where I'd be at, but I will second it.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay. All right.
Hearing no more discussion, Kristen, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We got some new things here, Mark. We are now on agenda item number 17 with Amber and Dylan Reed. Are they online to call, or are they gonna come in?
No RSVP.
Well, let's.
Nothing?
start. We're past their time anyway, so let's
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay. Well, we're right on time. 3:48, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. Carla,
Okay.
read us their situation.
Our next appeal is parcel number 281.84.05.006. It's located at 4008 West Trailview Circle in Sioux Falls. It's owned by Amber and Dylan Reed. It is a single-family home built in 2013. It has 1,684 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. It does have a full basement with 1,424 square feet. It also has a attached garage with basement underneath of 1,327 square feet. The assessment went out at $588,319. This was appealed to the local board. Local board made no change to the assessed value, so the appellants appealed back the local board's decision for the county consideration. We do show 5 comparables that I believe are very similar to the subject property. We did have to choose from neighborhoods that were similar to the subject to find 5 comparables for today's consideration. Currently, we have an assessed value of $349,000 for the subject property. The range for the comparables range between 315 and 354. The market is indicating a market range between 345 and 392.
17.
Our subject property is located in blue. And then there's two comparables within the same neighborhood as the subject property. There are three comparables to the southeast of the comparable, or the subject. Is there some confusion?
What
It
was-
feels like we just did this one.
Well, what
No.
is the numbers for on this one?
No, there was just a brief period of time where it got brought up on the screen for
Yeah.
like 1 minute. It was not to me, it was not confusing at all.
I just
think
want to
they were-
verify what our numbers that we're dealing with.
These are the correct numbers.
And let's repeat them.
The assessed value went out at $588,000.
I heard a different number before, and that's why I was confused.
Okay.
That's
Maybe.
that's what I'm trying to verify. Thank you.
Yeah, you're on the right one.
Yeah, I heard something.
Yeah.
Sorry, Carla. I thought I heard something different. That's why I wanted to
And
verify.
It's been a long day, so.
Yep.
I
I
could have
appreciate
misspoke.
clarifying.
It just felt oddly familiar to myself as well, so I understand the confusion. So the map shows that we do have comparables that are right within the neighborhood of the subject property. We did pull from another property that we felt was similar to the subject property for consideration. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to follow the assessor's recommendation.
We have a motion to uphold the assessor's recommendation. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Aaron's. The original proposal was from Commissioner Poppins. Kristen, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries. I will make a note that gentlemen they sent in several pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you look through them?
I looked through them, and I really didn't see anything that was any great consequence.
I think those were the pictures that I was going through with
Yeah.
the
Yep, that was
previous
the
gentleman.
deck. Yeah.
No, I appreciated those people sending them in. I took
Yep.
a look at them too.
Yep.
Yep, we all viewed them.
Okay,
Item
thank you.
on our agenda, number 18, which deals with Heartland Tower. Carla?
Sure.
I'm gonna pass this off to Ethan, as he has been.
Do they have a representative coming?
On the phone.
Are they on the phone?
Yes.
Would the representative from Heartland Tower, can you hear us?
Yes, this is Robert Nall. I spoke with you last year, and I'm down working at a site that a roof blew off, so I couldn't attend in person because it's supposed to rain tomorrow.
Okay, Robert,
Sorry
we'll be
about
with you in a moment. Ethan,
Sure,
do
take your time.
Ethan, do you want to tee this one up, please?
Is it on a different day? Or?
No.
Oh, okay. I see. It's not how I was running through it. I got it.
And then the assessor.
All right, so our next appeal is parcel number 0964903-2020, owned by Heartland Tower. We currently have an assessed value of $132,858. This is a communications tower located in one of our southern townships. We do have a recommendation currently to adjust the price down a little to $107,521. There are no recent sales that we were able to find of a communications tower such as this. We did provide a couple of assessments of other towers to try to show how we are assessing those. This is a bit of a complex type of property. Typically, communication towers are on a leased site. This tower was used more in the 1950s or so. Maybe, I'm not sure at what point it became obsolete, but it was purchased in a group of many different communication towers, like the subject, in a group sale back in 2003, I believe, and each site was purchased for $1,000. This site is listed for lease. If there was ever to be an interested party who would like to lease some space for their equipment on the tower. Here are the comparables that we are using to show how these towers are assessed. It's not assessed per square foot. I apologize. These should say per linear foot. because it's the height of the structure on this type. There are different types of communication towers. This is what's considered a light design load, self-supported. And then we have a couple of other designs here as well. We got heavy design load with a guide tower, heavy design load self-supported like the subject, and another heavy design load self-supported.
Ethan, is this tower in operation? If
Uh,
that's a question you can answer.
In my communications with Robert, who we have on the line, he has stated that it's been listed for lease and there has not been any interest. It is essentially the space is donated to a ham radio club, but they are not a nonprofit type venture, so there's no possibility for getting a
we were, if I'm
tax
point
reduction.
blank say it, we have, I believe, and I don't know if that got verified with our planning and zoning office, there's, once a tower is not in use, for commercial status, and it could be loosely interpreted, but I think they're supposed to be decommissioned and removed, and I strongly urge that something get put on that tower, or we visit with the planning and zoning and find out, what the status is on a tower that.
Maybe he'll
that is-
tell us. Ryan
yeah,
will tell
so-
us here in a minute.
And the appellant did reach out to me this morning and asked that I would present what he had submitted last year for his appeal.
Okay.
And so because I didn't have that last week, I was unable to include that in the civic clerk agenda, but I should be able to open that up for you here. Carter can read my mind. Jake can read my mind. So if you would like, you can certainly read through this. Kind of explains, I think, what I explained, that this used to be operational sometime in the 50s and 60s, maybe 70s. I don't know. It's used for amateur radio communications and is not used for commercial activities at this time. I know last year Robert had told me that in exchange for the use of the property, this ham radio group will mow it and spray the weeds or trim the weeds. It is hard saying without interest for leasing the space what this is really worth.
How many acres is it again?
1.4, 04.
Well, I can tell you what it's worth if someone wanted to buy it and build a house on it.
Right. Which is kind of along the lines of how we tried to price, rural commercial. It's a poor location for most commercial operations.
Yeah.
But it's a
So-
commercial property, so
Is it zoned commercial? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is it zoned commercial?
I'm unaware of the zoning at this time.
Just out of curiosity.
look
th-
quick.
This thing bumped up from 14.
Can we hear from the owner of that, and maybe he can answer some of these questions for us?
I'm on the line. I didn't want to speak until I was spoken to. I've watched too many episodes of Judge Judy. where
Would
get
you
in trouble
state
for
your
talking.
full name and address, please, sir?
Sure. Robert Nall with Heartland Tower, and the mailing address we use is PO Box 130, Auburn, Kansas, 66402.
Okay. Well, Robert, can you enlighten us with some of the other issues about zoning, inoperative, what plans are, et cetera, et cetera?
Sure, I'm happy to answer any questions. I know you guys are on limited time. So I'm real active with amateur radio, volunteer, emergency preparedness, EMT, firefighter, past sheriff's deputy, et cetera. So I have a fondness for emergency services. Back when we had an opportunity to purchase some of these in 2002, 2003, they were old AT&T long lines towers. They were purchased in a group sale by American Tower. American Tower is in the business to lease space on towers and make money. The agreement was, though, from AT&T, they wanted to get rid of all of them, so they said you got to buy them all or you don't get any. So American Tower purchased all of them. Then they went through and they picked the ones that they liked in, Des Moines, Omaha, Lincoln, the big metropolitan areas. The ones that were in rural areas, like this one in Moe, South Dakota, they ended up selling off. We had an opportunity because of the amateur radio interest, whereas also additionally for federal rules, FCC rules and regulations, amateur radio operators cannot make a profit or not do anything that has business or profit making capabilities. That's our primary interest. When we got into this, obviously we'd love to lease space on any of our sites to help pay for these sites that don't have any income potential. I've tried to do anything with this site other than amateur radio, which we donate space for, as Ethan mentioned. It's been wonderful to work with, by the way. And there's no interest whatsoever. The infrastructure for utilities, cellular, and everything has already been built out. The fiber optic lines that run or do not run down near this tower site, which is detrimental to try to lease space on it. But it works wonderful for the amateur radio operators when they're doing weather spotting, or if there was a disaster and the E911 communication systems went out for some reason or something, and the hams are there and they donate their space, volunteer. That's a primary interest. What I'd like to do is just like the commission did last year, is they just came and they took all of that information interest and they reduced the price down around $40,000, which I can live with that. My tax base went up on this site to where my taxes are now more than half per year what I paid for the whole thing back when I purchased it in 2003. Any questions? I'm trying to, I know you guys' time's limited, so I don't want to speak too much.
Is this building just slab on grade, or is there any depth to it?
It's the original building that AT&T put there. It's like a concrete block building. I've not really done anything with this site since 2003 other than allow the equipment to be in there. There's no conditioning of the space. It's basically just a telecommunications shelter to house the equipment.
There's no basement,
I do
is there?
occasionally get squatters, which are mice in there, but we try to keep those out.
Is it, do you know, is it currently zoned commercial or is it ag zone?
I believe they were originally zoned utility and they were exempt from taxes, and I think they're commercially zoned, yes.
You believe so, but you're not, would you say you're 100% confident?
We can be 100%
It just,
confident.
given that this age of this may have never been addressed.
Yeah, I'm 99.9% sure it's commercial. I just don't have the sheet. Again, I was out trying to work on a roof because it's supposed to rain tomorrow, and so I'm trying to do about 10 things, but I don't have that specific thing. But I believe I'm 99.9% sure it's commercial property.
I know that we talked last year about the concern about if a tower's inoperable or not in operation, that there may be a ordinance that requires them to be removed. I don't know if that ever was followed up on or not. Do you know if anybody spoke with you about that?
The tower is in operation with the amateur radio equipment that's there, so it's very much being used. So, but I don't know if there's any ordinances. This site was put in 1950s, and the land and everything is owned, so it's not on leased land. I think normally that's when there's special use permits or something. I've heard. I don't have much experience with that, but from what I've heard, that there's special use permits or zoning that commissioners or zoning entities provide for, then they put that clause in there. So if a telecom site, and that's usually on new builds from what I've been exposed to, not on something that's been around forever.
Other than electricity, is there any utility into the property?
No, I just have electricity there, which I'm actually absorbing for the ham radio group that's there.
And just for the record, staff did research this. It's zoned agricultural.
Sorry to inform you, but it is zoned ag. It would be unless someone, pre or post 95 had requested it, still have the original classification as ag.
Well, then good thing I didn't say 100%. I thought I'm with them because I think they assigned $60,000.
Well, they say never bet against the house. So
I know,
Robert,
yeah. So I apologize.
No, you're fine. Thank you for the clarification, Ethan.
Robert, does this building have any use at all? Any use? It is, it can't be
normally with
rented.
the other counties, that I work with usually just classify it as empty, like an empty storage space building, because it's just there. It doesn't have any other use. There's no restrooms. There's no water. There's no conditioning to it. Just a clarification on the zoning. I thought part of the reason it was zoned so that they said the acre of ground was worth $60,000 was because it was commercial.
No.
That even I'm even a little bit more aghast that an acre of agricultural ground would be $60,000 at this
Actually,
site.
you would be aghast if it was listed as just ag, which it is. It actually has a higher value because of the ability to remove the structure and build a house on it. Because
Oh, wow,
it's
okay.
been pre-platted. So I have a motion. I don't know if I'll get any support for it. I would move that we keep the lot value at $61,245 and the building value at $35,388. I would remove the $36,225 for the tower. I think it is obsolete.
Which is total of what?
It's a great question.
I was hoping we could just do it like we did last year, where it was down around 40,000. If I don't know if I'm allowed to speak or not. Sorry. I don't know who did the motion and stuff last year.
1,633.
Jesus.
I mean, best use of the property, it's not being utilized to its best use, and best use in this county, sir, is for housing purposes. And I have to treat that just as fair as anybody else that would have a 1 acre lot that would have the ability to build a house on it.
Is that an empty 1 acre lot?
Well, recheck the.
Are you using the per
Thank
acre
you.
value or?
No, I was looking at the AV building, 35. Oh, I looked at the wrong number, sorry. The 34,027 and the 5889, so 889.
Okay, the land is what?
The 58,889 is the per price acre. It's slightly over an acre. The total value was 61,245.
Okay, then that is the ones I was using.
So it would be a total of 96,633 with
Yeah,
the
that's what I-
current. Okay.
That is what I said.
That seems steep for, I mean, I'm just saying, I
Yeah,
might go along with it.
I have to treat it as fairly to the next person that has a 1 acre lot out there.
Well, but, I mean, the 1 acre lot cost him more money to try to get rid of the tower. He's got an inoperative building.
Thank you.
I can't see that it's worth $100,000.
No way. Not that low.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think the reality is when you look at this property, and if you research our county and find out what that lot would be worth if you removed it and tried to sell it for a house, I think you will be pleasantly surprised.
Right.
But.
I would, but it's
But
not.
if
It's
that
not.
lot is
I'm
in
not
the
able to
middle
do
of a
that.
field somewhere and he has no.
It's not,
access,
it's along a road.
Yes.
It's right on Long Road.
It's on a road.
I looked at that. I
Next to
checked
the
that
farm
already
field.
too. So the accessibility
I
ability
just,
to
I
it.
just think, I'll go along with what
If
the
it was
majority said.
pre-platted to 95, it has an
If
eligibility.
it has a 1950 tower on it.
How about
Probably platted.
75,000?
I'll second the motion.
We've got a motion by Commissioner Poppins to put the land, and I don't have those numbers handy.
61,245, leaving the building at 35,388.
The building that has nothing, okay, no
yep.
value. Okay, that's fine. And the total then is,
96,633.
Wow.
I know that.
Why are
We'll
we
see how we go.
why are we putting this building at $35,000, which is absolutely worthless?
Why?
It's sitting out there, it has no value, no one can use it. I mean, you can't put storage in it.
Why can't they put storage? How do we, is the roof, sir, does the roof, is that structure leak? You say you've got some mice, but is there?
Yes, yes, the roof leaks.
The roof leaks. Do you have any
Yes, it is
pictures of
bad,
this on the inside?
I can provide you pictures of the leaking roof. I mean, the roof's original. It's a 1950s,
Yeah.
60s roof. Yeah, the roofs are. I haven't put a new roof on there yet. It's original roof.
Is the electricity go into that building?
Yes, the electricity does. No, it's on the side of the building, and then the breaker box is right on the opposite side of the meter.
Take the building down to 20,000.
I will amend my motion to that. I will take the building down to 20,000, leaving the land at 61,245 for a total of 81,245.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Poppins and a second by Commissioner Aaron's to remove the building down to $20,000, the lot at 61,245 for a total of 80, what'd you say, Mike?
81-245.
81-245. Kristen, will you want to call the roll, please?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. I greatly appreciate
Good luck-
your thankless
good
job.
luck
Thank you
fixing your
so
roof.
much, everyone.
Thank
Yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
We now have item
No, we don't.
number 17, which, no, number, well, we're going to move bio. Can we announce that we're going to move the poet bio to, when is that, December or April?
December, I love it.
April,
April 23rd.
April 1st.
April 23rd, okay.
I've been putting your time in here.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to table the agenda item until April 23rd.
I'll second.
Kristen, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Yes. Chair will entertain a motion do we adjourn today or recess? We recess. We're
Move to
not done yet.
recess.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Aaron's.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
We are recessed.
We will.